Every morning, millions of people wake up and do something that feels completely natural. Breakfast. A few hours later comes lunch, and eventually, dinner. 3 meals, 3 familiar moments dividing the day. But here is the strange part. There is no biological law telling humans that we must eat exactly 3 times a day. For most of human history, people did not live according to the neat breakfast, lunch, and dinner schedule we recognize today. So, who decided that 3 meals was normal? Was it ancient humans, the Romans, farmers, factories, or something much more unexpected? Today on Qriosity Quest, we are going back thousands of years to uncover the strange history behind one of the most ordinary routines in human life. And the answer may change the way you think about your next meal. First, we need to destroy one popular misconception. Humans did not suddenly wake up 10,000 years ago and agree, from now on, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There was no ancient meal schedule carved into stone. For most of human history, eating was closely connected to something much more practical. When food was available, when people were awake, when they were working, and when they could gather together. Hunter-gatherers did not have supermarkets, refrigerators, alarm clocks, or standardized working hours. Their eating patterns depended heavily on their environment, the food they could obtain, and the demands of daily life. Some meals could be substantial. Other eating occasions could be little more than a quick snack. The idea that everyone, everywhere, should eat 3 standardized meals is therefore much newer than the human relationship with food itself. Then something important happened. Humans began building permanent settlements. Agriculture changed the way people interacted with food. Instead of constantly moving in search of resources, many communities began cultivating crops and raising animals. Food could be stored, grain could be preserved, harvest could be planned, and daily life became more structured. But even then, there was no universal 3 meal system. Different cultures developed different eating patterns. Climate, religion, social class, work, wealth, and local food availability all influenced when people ate. In other words, the history of meals is not really just the history of food, it is the history of how human societies organized time. One fascinating example comes from ancient Rome. Romans had names for 3 eating occasions: Centaculum in the morning, Prandium around midday, and Cena, the main meal, later in the day. That sounds remarkably similar to breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But there was an important difference. These meals were not equal. The morning meal was generally light. The midday meal could also be relatively simple. The major meal was cena, which became associated with the later part of the day. And among wealthy Romans, cena could become an enormous social event. So even thousands of years ago, humans could divide eating across several points in the day. But the meaning of those meals was very different from the modern breakfast, lunch, and dinner routine. And this is where the story gets really interesting. For much of European history, the timing and importance of meals shifted repeatedly. The largest meal was not always eaten at the time we would call dinner today. The word dinner itself has a complicated history. In earlier periods, the main meal could occur much earlier in the day. As social schedules changed, the timing of the main meal gradually shifted later. This is a pattern that appears again and again throughout food history. People did not simply choose meal times because their bodies demanded them. Their schedules changed first, and their meals changed with them. Then came one of the biggest transformations in human history: industrialization. For thousands of years, daily life had been strongly connected to agriculture. Work happened according to daylight, seasons, weather, and local conditions. But factories introduced something radically different: a clock. Workers increasingly had to arrive at specific times. Workdays became structured. People could no longer simply stop what they were doing and return home whenever they wanted. And suddenly, the timing of food had to fit the timing of work. This is one reason the modern meal schedule became increasingly recognizable. Food began adapting to industrial society, not the other way around. Consider lunch. Today, lunch seems almost inevitable. Around the middle of the day, millions of people stop working, open a container, order food, or walk into a restaurant. But historically, the midday meal was not always the quick standardized break we know today. Industrial work created a problem. People needed something to eat during the working day, but they could not necessarily return home for a large meal. So the midday meal increasingly became something practical, something portable, something quick, something that could fit between working hours. The sandwich is a perfect example. It was easy to carry, required little preparation, and and could be eaten without the elaborate setup associated with a formal meal. Lunch was becoming a meal designed around work. Breakfast followed a different path. For centuries, morning eating could be controversial depending on culture, religion, class, and period. But as working schedules became more standardized, people needed something they could consume before starting the day, and breakfast became increasingly associated with speed. Bread, porridge, eggs, coffee, later cereal. The modern breakfast was not simply discovered, it was constructed. Food companies, advertising, changing work patterns, social expectations, and ideas about health all help shape what we now consider breakfast food. That is why it feels strange to imagine eating certain foods at the wrong time. A bowl of cereal at dinner seems unusual, but there is nothing biologically magical about cereal being a breakfast food. It is a cultural rule. And then there was dinner. As industrial society made midday work more difficult to interrupt, the evening became an important opportunity for people to gather. Dinner could become the meal where families sat together. It could become more formal, more elaborate, more socially meaningful. In other words, dinner was not just about calories anymore. It became a ritual, a family gathering, a symbol of normal life. And eventually, breakfast, lunch, and dinner became more than eating occasions. They became anchors for the day. But there is another surprising twist. Even the idea of 3 meals has never been completely universal. People have eaten 4 meals, 5 meals, 2 meals, small snacks throughout the day, long periods without food, and large evening feasts. Historical eating patterns varied enormously between cultures, time periods, and social groups. The 3-meal system survived not because every human society independently discovered the same biological requirement. It survived because it fit particularly well with the structure of modern daily life. And this gives us the real secret. 3 meals a day is not simply an ancient biological command. It is a combination of biology, culture, economics, technology, and time. Our bodies obviously need energy and nutrients, but the exact schedule through which we obtain them is surprisingly flexible. Human beings are adaptable. We can organize eating around farming, around sunlight, around religious practices, around military schedules, around school, around factory shifts, and now around smartphones and 24-hour lifestyles. The clock on the wall has influenced our plates more than we might realize. And there is something even more fascinating happening today. The 3-meal schedule that became so familiar is being questioned again. Researchers are studying something called time-restricted eating. The basic idea is not necessarily to eat less food. Instead, it focuses on when food is consumed and how long the daily eating window lasts. Some studies are investigating whether aligning eating with the body's biological clock could affect metabolism and health, but the science is still developing. This does not mean that breakfast is bad or that everyone should start skipping meals. It means something more interesting. Human beings are once again asking whether the schedule we inherited is actually the only way to organize eating. And suddenly, the story comes full circle. Thousands of years ago, humans did not have one universal meal schedule. Then societies became more structured. Agriculture changed food availability. Cities changed daily life. Industrialization introduced clock-based work. And eventually, breakfast, lunch, and dinner became deeply embedded in everyday culture. Now modern researchers are asking new questions about meal timing. Perhaps the history of the 3-meal day is not finished. Perhaps we are simply entering another chapter. So the next time you sit down for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, remember this. You are not simply following a biological routine. You are participating in a tradition shaped by farmers, workers, cities, factories, families, food culture, and generations of human beings who lived very different lives from ours. 3 meals a day may feel ancient, but the schedule we recognize today is really a story about how humans learned to organize time. And perhaps the strangest part is this: the meal schedule we think has always existed may still be changing. This is Qriosity Quest. Every Qriosity Quest video takes hours of research and digging through expert studies, all to uncover the real story hiding beneath the surface. If you enjoyed the journey, like, share, and subscribe. Check out our social media and website in the description. For more fascinating stories, click the video on your screen right now and dive into the next quest. As always, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep exploring.